guys, it's Shandia from the Red Fairy Project. I hope you're doing well. So this week we're talking about two amazing books that are not only good for creative people, but they're also good if you're the type of person that can maybe really be harsh on yourself, or if you procrastinate a lot and you tend to let fear keep you stuck. So before we get started, if you're on my YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe by clicking the link below. If you're on redfairyproject.com, make sure that you sign up to the weekly newsletter. There's a link below as well. I put out new videos every week, and by subscribing, it's the best way to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the content that I share with you. So one of the two books that I want to talk to you about, I actually don't have here. I don't know where I put it. I think maybe I passed it to a friend or something because it's so good actually. But I'll start with that. So it's The War of Art by Pressfield, and I will leave a link to both of the books below. If I can summarize that book in one line, why I would recommend that book to anybody that's thinking of embarking on any kind of creative project where you are unsure of the outcome. I'll make that as vague as possible. It is a great book because the main lesson that it teaches, or that I got out of it, is why we often put those projects, life dreams off, why we procrastinate. And the main thing that I took from that book is about this resistance, this internal resistance that we have to anything that is unsure. And it talks about the fact that our brain, our primitive brain, it tries to look for security, for safety. And when we're thinking of branching out into some sort of a creative project, or for example, it could be launching a blog, it could be starting our own business, and anything that we're really putting ourselves out there, there's something that happens in the brain, in our internal dialogue, that says, no, wait a second. Why would you think of doing that? Like, that is risky. And what's silly in the end is what risk are we actually running? And obviously there's a range of risks depending on, are you thinking of selling your house and all your belongings to start a business, or you just want to launch a blog? Obviously there's varying risks depending on what you're considering doing. But in general, if I think of all these different examples, and in general, usually we're not actually putting ourselves at risk physically, but the brain can send you signals as if you are, and this often happens very unconsciously. We're not aware that all of this is going on. All we're doing is we're making excuses and putting that project to the side and not thinking about it. But what happens is really it's that internal resistance that's happening. I can say that what I went through with starting my blog, with having to write posts every week, and I was completely unconscious of this at first until I read that book. And it was really this resistance, this fear of, what are people going to think? Is it good enough? Is it useful? Isn't there already a million posts out there on that same stuff? So it's all this internal dialogue that was happening, that was having these huge blocks in front of this huge wall in front of me that was keeping me stuck, that was keeping me from moving forward. So at first when I launched my blog, it was, I didn't really think about it. It was okay, kind of scary putting myself out there, but I was doing it more, at first I was nobody's going to read it anyway, so whatever. But then with time, when I started seeing people were reading it and I was getting feedback, that voice of fear was start to kind of rise up, and I started feeling that resistance sometimes stronger than before. So The War of Art, not to be confused with The Art of War, it's a very, very small book. It's a very easy and quick read, but the realizations that it brought me to were unbelievable. Seriously, when you start to be aware of what's going on in your head and what's keeping you stuck, because I say this often, we are often the ones standing in our own way. Yes, there might be external circumstances, but usually in many cases it's us. It's what's going on in our head that keeps us from really reaching our full potential, being happy, and going for our dreams, or doing a special project that could bring us a lot of happiness. And it's not necessarily about taking these huge leaps, like quitting your job to follow your dreams. It might be just a little side project, but it could can be something that can make you feel alive again and bring you a lot of happiness. So I really recommend this book, honestly, to everybody, because we've all dealt with fear, with, you know, resistance in our life at one point or another, because many of us do have these yearnings to do something a little creative, a little risky, a little like, well, what's really the point of doing this? And I feel like there's a lot of risk and it might make me look bad if I fail and all of that kind of stuff. It's something that in general every single human being goes through. So that's my first recommendation. And my second, which I have, is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this book is truly magical. I would say the two things that it taught me, I mean, it taught me a lot of things, but the two things I wanted to share with you today. One, I find that Elizabeth Gilbert she's extremely comforting. Like I read a lot of books that are about like, you know, personal development and reaching your full potential and kind of like, you know, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And in general, my mental dialogue, I tend to be quite hard on myself. And Elizabeth just brings a certain softness. And really the one word that I associate with her and with this book is kindness. And it's to treat yourself with kindness. And so many of us can be so hard on ourselves. So that's the first thing. And I will link to a video that I did on kindness. And being kind to yourself, as cheesy as it may sound maybe to some of you, makes all the difference in the world to being happy and to really creating a fulfilling life. Because when you're hard on yourself and when you have harsh thoughts about yourself, about what you're doing, about who you are, it keeps you small. I mean, it makes you stress. It's just, there are so many negative consequences to that. So I find that this book in particular, so the subtitle is Creative Living Beyond Fear. Now, once again, you might think, oh, I'm not really a creative person. And not saying that this book is for everybody necessarily, but if you are kind of venturing in creative endeavors, whether it's a business or whether it's just like a side project, once again, the lessons in here really teach you to go on that journey while being kind with yourself, and it shows you a little bit how to navigate the fears that do come up, how to make fear a friend, which might sound quite counterintuitive, but fear can actually be kind of your travel buddy in the car. And what she said, oh, I have to say this example, it's so cute. So she says that fear is a presence, an entity, if you will, that's with us, you know, over the course of our life. But the thing is sometimes for certain people, let's say our life is a journey, let's say our life is a road trip and you're in the car, and for certain people, fear is at the wheel, you're in the passenger seat. Fear is driving, fear has control over which radio station is playing, and he's really running the show. Now, what she says is that she talks about the shift that happened in her life, is she said, look, fear will always be with me in the car on this road trip. It's something we can't really eliminate fear from our life. What we can do is we can put it in the passenger seat in the back, and we can tell it when it starts raising its voice. We can say, look, fear, I appreciate you for, you know, I appreciate the feedback that you have. I appreciate you trying to maybe tell me which direction to take or to not take, or maybe that route might be a little bit more risky or dangerous, but I'm good. I've got this. And you don't let fear dictate the direction that you're taking. You don't let fear choose which radio station is playing. So it's kind of like fear is just like a little presence in the back. It's kind of like a little kid that maybe sometimes like misbehaves, but you can't necessarily get rid of it, but you can establish a new relationship, if you will. And I really love that kind of metaphor where fear will always be there, but you can just kind of put it in the backseat and say, thanks for that input, but I'm good. Yeah, I am going to go this way. I know it seems like super scary and risky and whatnot, but we're going to be okay. So I would highly recommend this book. Once again, like at this time of year, it's fall, we're spending more time indoors. It's nice to do something that really feeds your soul, that can provide some guidance. And even if you don't, as I said, consider yourself a creative, we do in life tend to try to, like, you know, do something that's a little outside maybe the norm. And sometimes it can be really, really scary. So I love having tools kind of having a toolbox and having these books as tools in the toolbox to give you a little more courage, make you feel more supportive, establish that mindset, that kind mindset where it'll allow you to move forward and to have that that mindset that's more it's more peaceful. It's really a mindset that'll allow you to rise to your full potential and to take care of you if you do, you know, make a mistake and fail. It'll allow you to be kind enough to yourself to just, you know, pick up the pieces and then just try something else. And it's okay. That doesn't make you any less of an amazing person if you do that. So highly recommend these 2 books. And if you have any questions, or if you've read them, or if you have any book recommendations yourself that you find feed the soul or provide guidance, please let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up, and make sure that you subscribe so that you get the next videos coming up very soon. And thank you for watching, and have a great week. Love you guys. Bye.